Hello, my name is Bukeka. So many of you know me by Bukeka style. And today is the fourth day of Kwanzaa. Now, if you're not familiar with this amazing holiday, I'd like to share why this holiday has come about, why it's so important to African American culture, and to tell you a little personal story behind this amazing holiday that I attribute to my mother. Kwanzaa is a happy celebration. It celebrates the endurance that African Americans have maintained during troubled times in order to have the freedom that we were born with when we came into this world. It celebrates the ancestry of African Americans who have been major contributors to the fabric of American history, American life. It celebrates the children who will go on to be great contributors to the future of America and the entire world. As a human growth and development specialist, I am also an inspirational speaker and a recording artist. And I often present to youth and adults of African American descent. And to me, it is heartbreaking to observe that we as African Americans have been so far removed from a sense of self-identity. It's as though when we were taken when our ancestors were taken from the land of Africa and transplanted here in the Americas, throughout the Americas, that left a void that many have been trying to fill in some form or fashion. There seems to be, in some cases, a greater sense of a lack of self-worth, but not in all cases. Because you see, the beauty of being an African American is a sense of resilience and the ability to maintain our self-worth, knowing that we come from great stock and that all of the things that were done to African Americans have failed to keep us from being have failed. The things that people have tried to do to keep African Americans from being successful, to live in prosperity, to have a great sense of self-awareness, have failed. But it is no secret that great numbers of African Americans are living in underdeveloped inner cities and neighborhoods, and yet African Americans contribute billions and trillions of dollars to the American economy. The most misfortune is that as a culture, we have not made that economic power work on our behalf to the extent that others have, but that's changing. The struggle for African American children, youth, and adults continues, though, in many scenarios. But yet, at the same time, there is improvement. There is a trajectory of change. There's a trajectory of the ability to rise above and succeed, despite any efforts to keep that from happening. And so, Kwanzaa is a way to celebrate that endurance, to celebrate that resilience of African Americans. You know, there was a time when I could not wear my hair like this, that I had to assimilate to wearing my hair straight and long and not having it look like the way that my hair is intended to be. It's a 4C curl, the tightest curl you can get. And for many years in American culture, Black women have been shunned. We have been told that we cannot wear our hair this way, that it's not professional, that it doesn't look the way that it should because it doesn't lay down. But you see, those things are changing. Those norms are changing. And that is because of the resilience and the fortitude and the strength and the power that we possess as African Americans. It was 1966 when Dr. Malena Karanga introduced the Festival of Kwanzaa to the United States. Karanga was so disturbed by the 1965 riots in Los Angeles Watts area that he decided that African Americans needed an annual event to celebrate their differences rather than the melting pot. Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday, but rather a 7-day celebration that begins December 26th and continues through January 1st. It became a ritual to welcome the first harvest to the home. So has described Kwanzaa as being more than Thanksgiving in the United States. Some have described Kwanzaa as being more like Thanksgiving in the United States or the Yam Festival in Ghana and Nigeria. The word Kwanzaa is a Kiswahili word, a language spoken in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, meaning first. And it is important for anyone of African American descent, non-Black parents raising Black children, educators who teach Black children, and so on, to learn the practice of this amazing and wonderful holiday. Kwanzaa awakens the values of African ancestry and brilliantly enfolds them into American culture. It honors the strength and the tenacity of those African Americans who truly gave their lives that their children and their children's children might learn once again what it truly means to be free. I've written a handbook that gives information about Kwanzaa, how to celebrate it. And I'm sharing some information from that handbook to you right now. So Kwanzaa, again, is derived from the Kiswahili phrase, Mutanda ya Kwanzaa. The additional A was added to signify it as an African American holiday. So it's spelled Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa means first fruits of the harvest, a depiction of the celebration of harvesting the first crops in traditional Africa. It is celebrated by people of African descent living in North American and Caribbean parts of the world, parts of the African diaspora. The celebration of Kwanzaa is a means for Black people to reaffirm their commitment to themselves, their families, and their community. There are 7 days of Kwanzaa, which begin December 26th and last through January the 1st. Each day focuses on a specific principle, so there are 7 principles. The 7 principles go by the name the Nguzo Saba. They are unity, Umoja, self-determination, Kujichagulia, collective work and responsibility, Ujima, cooperative economics, Ujamaa, purpose, Nia, creativity, Kuumba, faith, Imani. That is the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. At the beginning of each celebration, every day there is a celebration. At the beginning of each of those celebrations are introductory remarks and recognition of distinguished guests and all the elders. Before the celebration can begin, the eldest of the group must be acknowledged. It's an homage to that person by presenting their role in the family, their gifts, and their character. They are often asked if permission is granted to let the ceremony or celebration begin. Their simple response is permission granted, and the celebration begins. A celebration of cultural expression, including songs, music, dancing, poetry reading, performances, and unity circles, is now in full swing. That's when you know it's a Kwanzaa party. It is a part of the Kwanzaa ceremony to take time to reflect. It can be a reflection of thanks or a sharing of what significant event has happened during the course of the year. It can be an expression of joy, it can be an expression of sorrow, it can be an expression of revelation, testimony. Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday, but at this time of the ceremony, it is considered sacred, and everyone is given time to express themselves. Family and friends support each other who have the floor at the time with respect and silence. It is a time of reverence. So now, after the time of acknowledgement, it's time for the celebration to begin. Now, this is called the uh, Kachunguza Tena na Kotua Adi Tena. Now we get down to the business of Kwanzaa, of the ceremony. Usually the host will invite someone who is distinguished guest and lecturer to give a short talk. It is important because the remarks made here will encourage the guest to reassess and commit to the strength and the well-being of family. It is customary for the speaker to bring into account the strides of the culture, what they've made, such new inventions, political leadership, economic growth, and development. The lecturer should end his or her talk on a high note, and the guest should feel rejuvenated with the words that stay with them until the next harvest or Kwanzaa celebration begins. It is a time for cultural pride and honor. And then there is the time for rejoicing. Kushanga, Kushangila, Kushangila. The reading of the Tamshi La Dambiko, which means libation statement. It is a tradition to pour libation in remembrance of the ancestors on all special occasions. Kwanzaa is such an occasion. It provides us the opportunity to reflect on our African past and American present. Water is suggested as it holds the essence of life and should be placed in a communal cup and poured in the direction of the four winds, north, south, east, and west. It should then be passed among family members and guests may either sip from the cup or make a sipping gesture. And here is a libation statement. For the motherland, cradle of civilization, for the ancestors and their indomitable spirit, for the elders from whom we can learn much, for our youth who represent the promise of tomorrow, for our people, the original people, for our struggle, and in remembrance of those who have struggled on our behalf, for Umoja, the principle of unity, which should guide us in all that we do, for the Creator who provides all things, great and small. After libation is poured, it is customary to call out the names of ancestors. Each time a name is called from the room responds, Ashe, which means thank you or so it is. Now, during this time of celebration, we begin honoring and lighting the candles of of Kwanzaa, the 7 candles, the Nguzo Saba. Each candle is lit each day. The candles are red, black, and green. Red standing for the blood of the people, green standing for the land of the people, and black representing the color of the people. This is my favorite part of the celebration. The reading of the Nguzo Saba and lighting the Mashuma Saba, 7 candles, black, one black, three red, and three green, which symbolize the seven principles of Kwanzaa. The candles are placed in the Kanara. Each day has a specific meaning and purpose and provides valuable reading for our youth and children. It is customary that children light the candles and read the principle for each day. Here is the order for the lighting of the candles and the reading for each day of Kwanzaa. Umoja. On the first day of Kwanzaa, the black candle is lit, representing the first principle of Kwanzaa, Umoja, unity. To strive and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kujichagulia. On the second day, the black candle is again lit, as well as the farthest red candle to the left. This represents the second principle of Kwanzaa, Kujichagulia, self-determination. Reading. To define for ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves, instead of being defined, named, created, and spoken for by others. Ujima. On the third day, the black candle is lit, and then the farthest left red, and then the farthest right green. This represents the third principle of Kwanzaa, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. To build and maintain our community together and make our sisters and brothers' problems our problems and to solve them together. Ujima. On the fourth day, the black candle is lit, then the farthest left red, and then the farthest right green, and then the next red candle on the left. This represents the fourth principle of Kwanzaa, collective economics. Reading. To build and maintain our stores, shops, and other businesses to profit from each other. Ujamaa. Nia. On the fifth day, the black candle is lit, then the farthest left red, then the farthest left green, the next red, and then the next green. This represents the fifth principle of Kwanzaa, Nia. Reading. To make our collective vocation the building and developing our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Nia. Purpose. Kuumba. On the sixth day, the black candle is lit, then the farthest left red, the farthest left right green, the next red, the next green, and then the final red candle. This represents the sixth principle of Kwanzaa, Kuumba, creativity. Reading. To always, as much as we can, to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Kuumba. Imani. On the seventh day, the black candle is lit, then the farthest left red, the farthest right green, the next red candle, the next green candle, the final red, and then the final green candle. This represents the seventh principle of Kwanzaa, Imani, faith. Reading. To believe with all our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. On the final day of Kwanzaa, the seventh day, all candles in the Kinara are lit. When the night is done, the family takes one last drink from the unity cup and the candles are extinguished. Kwanzaa is over until the next year. So when you celebrate Kwanzaa, you want to make sure you have all the things needed for the Kwanzaa table: mazoa, fruits and vegetables, makika, a placemat, vibunzi, ears of corn reflective of the number of children in the home, zawadi, gifts, not new things, things handed down with special meaning or significance. Kikombe cha Umoja, the communal cup. Bandera, banner or the African national flag, red, black, and green, are the things that you would want to have on your Kwanzaa table. There's also lessons for the children. To help African American children to understand more about their culture, they need to have information. But in addition, they need to be able to establish a relationship with that information and gain respect for the common goal of being free to be whoever they want to be. On each day of Kwanzaa, parents and guardians should introduce a person or group or event from African or African American history to their children. After each reading, have young children draw a picture based on that reading. Other children should create an extra credit report card. Other children should create an extra credit report. If you don't have children to volunteer to share at your church or neighborhood or school or organization, here are some examples to use during your Kwanzaa holiday celebration. So one of the historical facts in African American history that you want to share with your children is the story of Juneteenth. On the 19th of June in 1865, the Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed in Galveston, Texas, with news that the war had ended, the Civil War had ended, and that all slaves were now free. This date was 2.5 years after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Due to the small number of Union troops posted in Texas at the time, the Emancipation Proclamation had no impact on Texas when it was signed. However, the surrender of General Lee in April of 1865 and the arrival of General Granger's regiment, the news finally reached the slaves of Texas. General Granger gathered a crowd in front of the Osterman Building at 22nd and Strand and proclaimed the emancipation to the Texans. General Order Number 3. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. And the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and free laborer. The celebration of June 19th was coined Juneteenth and grew more with participation from descendants. The Juneteenth celebration was a time of reassuring each other and praying and for gathering remaining family members. It continues to be highly revered in Texas decades later and across the country, with many former slaves and descendants making an annual pilgrimage back to Galveston on this date. It has decades later, descendants of those slaves continue to make that journey back to Texas. Another story is about Dr. Charles Drew. Charles Richard Drew, was born in Washington, D.C. in 1904. and received his medical degree from McGill University School of Medicine and continued his studies at Columbia University, where he wrote the thesis entitled Banked Blood. In 1940, Dr. Drew was asked to help administer the Transformation Betterment Association in New York, with the Red Cross supported financially. The same year, he developed a system to produce plasma. So, yes, blood plasma was invented by Dr. Charles Drew. He developed a system to produce blood plasma, separating it from blood matter. In 1941, he became the first medical director of the first American Red Cross blood bank in the United States, which produced dried plasma that could be preserved longer than the liquid plasma. The pioneering medical work of Dr. Drew, a distinguished African American, saved the lives of thousands of wounded Allied servicemen during the Second World War. He received the NAACP's Spring Arm Medal for his work in the British and American blood plasma projects. Ironically, in 1950, he died from injuries received in a car accident, despite heroic efforts by the staff of the small North Carolina hospital to keep him alive. During his lifetime, Dr. Drew worked diligently under the constraints of segregated society to help citizens of the world, regardless of their race or ethnicity. I'd like to also read to you about Makeda. Makeda, in Arab lore, was the queen named Bilqis or Balkis in Ethiopia. Makeda, also known as Magda or Makda or Makira, meaning greatness. Makeda was the queen of both Ethiopia and Saba or Sheba in southern Arabia. It is believed that Aksum, the capital city of her empire, was founded 100 years after the Great Flood. Queen Makeda was very beautiful and exceedingly rich. She had heard a great deal about the wealth of Israel and the wisdom of King Solomon from her royal merchants. One day, she announced to her constituents that she intended to visit Jerusalem to learn from the wise King Solomon. During her 6-month visit, Makeda conferred frequently with King Solomon. She was so impressed with his wisdom that she gave up her religion and adopted Judaism. King Solomon desired to father many sons who would rule in the name of God. Makeda and Solomon did have a son. She named him Ibn al-Hakim, son of the wise man. His royal name was Menelik. There are some wonderful stories in African American culture. There are some that are jubilant and in African culture as well that are jubilant and historic and brings great pride and joy. There are some that are very sad, torturous. But right where we are today, we can claim that we, again, are a resilient people. And we have, throughout time, shown over and over again that we are strong, that we are powerful, that we are masterful, that we are highly intelligent, creative beings. My mother Joan Newby in 1971 um, wrote a song called the Kwanzaa song. And it just brings my heart so much joy because people over the years have heard this song and now they share it with their children and their children's children. And I've had the chance to do that with my own. So I will leave you with a portion of this song, and it goes like this. Kwanzaa, happy celebration. Kwanzaa, happy time for all. Kwanzaa, happy celebration. Kwanzaa, happy time for all. Habari gani, watoto wangu. Habari gani, watoto wangu. Habari gani. Watoto wangu habari gani? Watoto wangu umoja umoja, wazee wangu umoja umoja, wazee wangu habari gani? Watoto wangu habari gani? Watoto wangu Kwanzaa, happy celebration Kwanzaa, happy time for all Kwanzaa, happy celebration Kwanzaa, happy time for all. Habari gani? Watoto wangu habari gani? Watoto wangu. Remember, Kwanzaa is a time of celebration. You'll find the link to the Kwanzaa song here in this video description. Listen to it, enjoy it, celebrate it with your family. Thank you so much for watching us on Fave Unite TV, where Black stories are amplified and celebrated.